This EAGI committee meeting is now back in session. It is now 11:08 a.m. And prior to the recess, we went as far as adopting today's agenda. So we will now move on to number 3 of the agenda. And I now invite Mr. Oscar Babalta, the Special Assistant for Administration, and the nominee, Mr. John Diego Atto, to join us in the chamber. Mr. Babalta will officially introduce the nominee to the committee. And you may proceed, Mr. Babalta, when you are ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning to you, half a day, to all of you, and your esteemed members of EAJ Committee. For the record, my name is Oscar Mbauta, Special Assistant under the Office of the Governor. On behalf of Honorable Governor Honorary Palacios and Honorable Lieutenant Governor David A. Mapatang, I thank you for the opportunity once again to appear before you today. I'm here to officially introduce Mr. John Diego Atto, the Governor and Lieutenant Governor's nominee, for his renomination once again to the Commonwealth Election Commission, representing the 2nd Senatorial District. By this time, you should have all of his resume showcasing his professional experiences, education, and training. Mr. Atto is a veteran with over 3 decades of distinguished service in the United States Air Force with both military and commercial fuel industries. He served on the Commonwealth Election Commission from August 14, 2020 to August 21, 2024. Governor Palacios and then Governor Patang have expressed their complete trust and confidence in Mr. Atto's renomination to serve on the Commonwealth Election Commission. We are confident that he is well prepared to answer any questions you may have and present his vision for the future, and we kindly ask for the expeditious approval on this matter. Thank you, Mrs. Malsi and Galiso, Madam Chair, and members of this esteemed committee, and look forward to his full confirmation in the full Senate ahead of the next session. Thank you, Mrs. Malsi, and buenos dias to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babalta. At this time, I will now open the floor for public comments. Should anybody wish to make public comments, I ask that you please join us in the chamber. Don't forget to turn on the microphone. And please state your name and the entity you represent, and pursuant to Senate rules, you will have at least 5 minutes.
Hafide Zantiro, Honorable Chairwoman Babalton, honorable members of this committee. My name is Kayla Igito, and I'm the Executive Director for the Commonwealth Election Commission. On behalf of the CEC Board and myself, I would like to express our support of Governor Arnold Palacios and Lieutenant David Apatang's nomination of Mr. John Atto. Mr. Atto was a former member of the Commonwealth Election Commission representing the 2nd Senatorial District. He is familiar with the election laws and has overseen 3 elections during his previous term. Currently, CEC has 5 members on board, one from the senatorial district, one from the 1st Senatorial District, one from the 2nd Senatorial District, and 3 from the 3rd Senatorial District. It is imperative that we fill these vacancies on the board to ensure CEC stays quorum, most especially with the 2024 general election fast approaching. With that said, we look forward to working through the leadership and guidance of Mr. Atto to ensure that we uphold CEC's mission to conduct a fair and secure election, notably as we approach the upcoming 2024 general election this coming November. We thank this committee in acting on Mr. John Atto's nomination. Thank you, Sizusmasi Hirisoremi.
Thank you, Ms. Igito, for your public comments. The legislature is here to always support the Election Commission, most especially during an election year, in order for them to fulfill their mission to conduct fair and free elections. The floor is still open for public comments.
Chair, Senator Babauta, and members of this committee. My name is Remedio R. Sablan. I am a member of the Commonwealth Election Commission. I'm here to support the appointment of John Atto for to serve or to continue to serve the Commonwealth Election Commission. In the past, he was a member and his term was expired, so the governor reappointed him. And we're very happy that he's coming back to join the Commonwealth Election Commission. This role to become election commissioner is not easy. We're dealing with a lot of legal issues each day. And we're very happy that the assistant for the attorney generals are always there to provide legal advice. Recently, we have received 2 proposed legislation from the legislature. One from the Senate and one from the House. And their proposal is, we have limited time to review it. So we're asking the members of the legislature to always give time to the Commonwealth Election Commission and not to be given a last minute proposed bill. Mr. John Atto, I have limited knowledge about him, but I know that he is presently an employee of the Veterans Affairs, and he was also a dedicated member with the Commonwealth Election Commission when he was a member. So I would like to ask this honorable body to please confirm Mr. John Atto, and I appreciate if it can be expedited because election is coming up very soon. And if one member, right now we only have 5 members. If one member is absent, our CEC will not be quorum. And there are pressing issues that needs to be addressed before the election. So we humbly ask for your consideration to expedite the confirmation of Mr. Atto. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sablan.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry when I got in. My voice is shaky because I was running from the car here. I know I'm late. So I'm trying to catch my breath. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Sablan. The floor is still open for public comments. If there are no further public comments, we will close that portion of the agenda for this morning, and we will reopen it in the afternoon when we vet the nomination of Mr. Richard Farrell, who will be coming in at 2 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Atto. May I ask you to please rise and raise your right hand while the legislative assistant will administer the oath to you.
John Diego Atto, you do solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Thank you. You may be seated. Let the record reflect that the committee has received written letters of support for Mr. Attal's nomination from the following individuals. Mayor of the Municipality of Tinian and Aguigan, Mr. Edwin Aldan, and also Mr. Christopher Conception in his personal capacity. Additionally, the committee has received no letters in opposition of Mr. Attal's nomination at this time. Mr. Attal, I will now give you the floor to make any opening remarks if you would like to do so at this time.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to give thanks to Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apatang for the opportunity to come back and serve the commission again. I look forward to working with my colleagues and the Election Commission personnel to the best of my abilities and knowledge, and appreciate this day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Attal. We are in session today to fulfill an important obligation pursuant to NMI Constitution and laws and to vet your credentials and your fitness to serve as a commissioner on the Commonwealth Election Commission. Free and fair elections are institutional buffers to our democracy and our basic civil liberties, such as freedom of speech and association, and that is why this is one of the most important confirmation hearings we will be conducting. Mr. Juan Diego Attal was nominated by Governor Palacios on August 14, 2024 to serve as commissioner for the Commonwealth Election Commission. I will begin the questioning portion, Mr. Attal. When was the last time, I didn't see it in your resume, when was the last time you served as a commissioner for the Commonwealth Election Commission?
2020, I forgot the month, but year 2020 up to 2024.
Oh, you just expired this
Yes,
year?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you share with us your previous experiences as a commissioner? What challenges did you face and how were you able to resolve those challenges?
Thank you for that question. Initially, it was very challenging. I learned a lot from the employees of the commission and also the tenure of the members at the time that I arrived. I had to learn quick because politics is not my thing, but I decided to accept the invitation to join the commission, so at least I can learn how it works. And I now have the idea how to assist in a better way to have the process discussed and come to a conclusion so that we can assist in making the process at least easier or better for the folks to understand.
Based on your experiences, and you said politics is not your thing, but you were there to serve and were willing to serve. What challenges did you face when you first came in, other than not being well versed in the electoral process of the CNMI? What was your main mission to gain?
I think the time of the election was the most challenging part. Of course, I'm representing the second senatorial district, so I was focused on that. But I had to learn like the different districts within the CNMI. So I grasped some of that information and I took notes and I set them aside so that I can again remind myself what I went through, and so that I can do better, in the next election. The other challenge that I had was the first election. There was 3 candidates, so they had to do a runoff. So that was very, I would say, not just challenging, but something new to myself because I had no clue what it was. But personally, I think that should be looked into, especially nowadays because of funding. I think we should review that and make changes if possible.
Thank you for that. I'm sure Senator Paul will elaborate later on because he introduced a bill to implement what they call ranked choice voting. I hope you look into it. Do you feel the electoral process is fair in the CNY? Would you make any improvements, in other words?
Yes, I believe so. And no, I don't think I can suggest any improvements. I think communication is something that needs to be the forefront of everybody's thinking when making decisions during those times.
Thank you. I will yield this time to other members. I recognize Senator Karina Magofnia.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and good morning to you, Mr. Atal. Congratulations on your renomination and resubmission of your nomination, and thank you for accepting the appointment or the nomination from our governor and lieutenant governor. So I will start with this. So you have been a member at the commission from 2020 to 2024. So you've been there 4 years, correct? And some of the challenges that you have mentioned, let's start with the timing of elections. So can you elaborate a little bit on what those challenges are and what you're referring to as the timing of election?
To me, the timing was, I felt like I wasn't given enough time before the election actually started. I would think that we would have meetings prior to the election, way forward than at the time that I experienced it. So I was, how should I say, naive in a lot of ways because I was also nervous because I wanted to make sure that I understand what was going on at the time and the impact that I can make to make sure that the election goes forward smoothly as much as possible.
So how long would you say were you a member before the actual election took place?
There was a special election that happened, and then,
Like right when you came in?
well,
When you-
a few months.
So a few months.
Yes,
So you became a member a few months before the special election.
I believe so. Yes.
And when you first came in, was there some type of, something similar to like an employee orientation? When you first start your job, there's usually an introduction to the company and, what are some of the do's and the don'ts? What are some of the protocols? Was there an SOP in place when you first joined?
I had my briefing with the election personnel, and also I had a binder
Okay.
that I spent a lot of time reading. I had some time because I was the one person on the island that can register new voters. So at that time, they gave me a week to register people. So that was the most time that I opened the books and read a lot of it. And of course, doing it at home as well.
So just based on what you're explaining to me earlier, I feel like you're saying that you didn't have ample time to kind of fully learn what the process is, right? Because you became a member and then a few months later, a special election had occurred. So were you like trained in any way on how to, what the process is and what the expectations are prior to the election?
Like I said, I was pretty new to the whole process. I asked a lot of questions. There was a lot of seasoned
Sure.
commissioners there that any question that you may have, they would give you the answers or give you pointers
Sure.
or just basically, refer you to what section of the binder to go back in
Right.
and read more on it.
Right. And I'm asking these line of questions because I want to be sure that whoever the new member is that comes in, right, that there is proper training, proper orientation, right, to familiarize yourself with the process, because it wouldn't be fair for you to, you know, perform your duties and responsibilities if you're not really aware of what the rules and regulations are and what the process is. So I'm trying to make sure that there's consistency across all three islands, across all three districts, that when a new member comes in as a commissioner, that, you know, again, going back to a job, right? Similarly, when you first start your job, you would normally have an employee orientation with HR to really go over what the company is about or what the organization is about and what are some of the expectations. And I know that you had mentioned that you received a binder, which probably has all the different protocols or steps to how um, respond to certain things. But I feel like you're saying that you didn't have enough time to fully digest, you know, whatever those informations are in that binder. So I guess, you know, our executive director from the election office is here. You know, just recommending that could, if especially on a non-election year, if there could be like a refresher type of course where the commissioners are given the opportunity to you know, take a refresher, or even just new members coming in. I think it, you know, so that everybody's on the same page when it comes to an election year. You also talked about communication as being one of the challenges. Can you elaborate what you mean by that?
Uh, like I said, I was pretty green with the whole process. So just trying to understand what people are saying. I guess if you had the experience of how elections go, and when you're exposed to it, because I wasn't exposed to this politics because I was away. In fact, I just returned back in 2018 when I was selected, or nominated. So I never played any, or I shouldn't say played, but the experience wasn't there for me. So I was at, I thought to myself that I was behind on a lot of stuff. So family and friends I would question like how things have been done in the past and stuff like that. But as far as communication, I think not knowing exactly how things normally go is where I was kind of like in the gray. Uh, my meaning for the communication, lack of communication, because I didn't know what questions to ask.
Okay, I think that's kind of tying into what I'm saying.
Yes.
If there's as an SOP or some kind of flow chart, right, that kind of demonstrates or gives you an idea of how communication is funneled through, then that would have been greatly helpful, especially for a new person. So maybe that's just something that the commission as a board can look into that and make sure that, you know, the election office does have those documents for incoming commissioners.
Sure.
Since your time there for 4 years, right, 2020 to 2024, I know that the chairwoman had asked you if there were any improvements that you feel needs to be made, but you didn't observe any changes to the regulations that need to be updated or no longer applicable or needs to be inserted in your 4 years there. There was nothing that you saw that needs to be changed.
I mean, I would suggest, and this is only a suggestion. It's the body needs to review it and can discuss it and stuff like that. But the runoff election is one of them, and the absentee voting I know there's three items that are inclusive of people voting absentee.
Okay.
Military is one, students is one, or education, and the other one is medical requirements that have to go away from home. But
Point of information, this is a fourth one, economics.
okay, so all right, I'm not sure if that was written in there, or if it needs to be updated. Okay, so economics is another one, but I think we should really look at it where, if for those four requirements, it's very understandable. But if a person who has been away for at least more than 10 years, I think we should, allow those people that are in the four categories to go through. But anyone past 10 years should, wherever they're residing, do the election wherever that, so you can go through the process, go through the motion of living in that area where they're at. But the people in the Sinamay that are presently in the Sinamay should be able to make the decisions for our economic opportunities that are living in the Sinamay. My opinion.
Thank you for that, Mr. Eto. I'm sorry, I didn't catch it, but what is your recommendation on the runoff and absentee?
The runoff should be economically, right now the government is very short in money. So, that's extra cost that we don't have to go through. So I would think that it should be eliminated. And as far as the absenteeism, people that are living in the Sinamay should make the decision to vote for their representatives to be represented here in the Sinamay. That way, because we are feeling the situation here, and if we're outnumbered, then we're the ones that are suffering here, and everybody else is probably better off than we are. Just something that I would like to see for it.
So for clarity, are you saying that we should eliminate absentee ballot and just
No, not eliminated.
Okay.
But just for those four categories, they should be able to vote if they're away. But anybody else that are away for such a long time, I would say at 10 years it would be the cutoff. So past 10 years, I think they should.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
So there should be a threshold to people who are living abroad or off island,
Yes.
despite the fact if they are filing their tax returns here in the CNMI.
I mean, a lot of Americans they move away from their home states. They're probably still paying taxes where they came from, but are voting at different states.
Okay. Thank you for your comment on that. This kind of also ties into that, and I'm not sure, since you've been in there for 4 years now, is there a regulation in place that kind of mandates that if, let's say, somebody here on the island of Saipan was a constituent is residing in precinct 3, for instance, right? And for one reason or another had to relocate or reside in a different precinct for whatever reason, but for a period of time. Is there such a regulation right now that requires them to register for the current precinct that they are residing in?
I believe that's what it is now. you're supposed to register where you live.
Is there a threshold to that? So let's say, some residents were displaced during or after the typhoon, right? And they had to temporarily move to another precinct, but have already resided there for, let's say, more than 3 years. What I want to know is there a regulation currently that requires them to now register for the precinct that they are currently residing?
I'm not sh- I'm not sure if there is one, to be
Okay.
honest.
So is that something that you would support? I mean, what is your stance on that? If a constituent is no longer living in the precinct that they are registered for longer period of time, let's say more than 3 years, uh, what is your stance on that?
It depends on the circumstance. Is it temporary? Is it permanent?
So what defines temporary and I mean, obviously permanent is permanent, right? But temporary, there has to be some limit, right? Because temporary could be 10 years. Temporary could be
Yes.
it's discretionary based on what their definition is. So I think as policymakers, we need to kind of be a little bit more specific as to what is considered temporary. And we have had some complaints of certain, just concerns that have come up, right, for certain people who are voting for this precinct, but they know that they live in that precinct. So,
Mhm.
you know, at some point we're going to have to address that. We cannot have this issue be just whatever it is. We have to have some guidelines in place. So, as a former commissioner and now being renominated again, what would be your recommendation?
A very good question. I think my opinion, the legislature, the election commission should get together and decide on what to do and put it down on add it onto the regulation, either to change it or go with what it is now. Uh, Honestly, I think it needs to come from, or even put a survey out there. Ask the public what do they think, and then go from there if you would agree to it or not.
As a commissioner yourself, though, I'm asking you, what is your stance on it?
Temporary, I would say, let's say for example, because of the typhoon, I see now like people that are displaced because their homes are destroyed, and it's taking the federal government, 3 to 5 years to repair their homes. So make it make it where it's after that.
So
the
something
6 year.
reasonable, right?
Yes.
But at
Yes.
some point after that threshold, they need to decide which precinct to vote in.
Yes.
Okay, because they can't keep going forever,
Exactly.
right? And is that something that how does the election office verify that to ensure that the people who are registering in that precinct are actually living in that precinct? I mean, what is the process
Good
to
question.
verify?
Good question. To be honest with you, I am not aware of what that might be. Uh, it's something that I need to look into myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please, let's start making sure that, I don't know what the process is right now, and if that's a regulation that needs to be promulgated, and if the commission can look into that. Also, I believe that when you file your petition to become, to run for office, do you know if a police clearance or criminal record is required upon submission for a candidate?
I believe so.
It is?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Um, and then one last question, Madam Chair. So, what are your thoughts or stance on standardizing the zoning of how precincts are designated? And what I'm referring to is, if you talk to DPL, they have their own redistricting. You talk to the mayor's office, they also have their own redistricting. You talk to the election office, they also have their own. Then you look at the census report, and they also have their own. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, for me, I would like to see consistency so that when we're referencing precinct for, that we are all on the same page when we're discussing it. But when really depends on which office you're talking to, right? Because you might think you're in precinct 1, but when you talk to DPL or mayor's office, you actually are in precinct, in a different precinct, your neighbor precinct. So what are your thoughts on that, on consolidating or standardizing the different zoning areas for?
I think everybody should agree to one thing, okay, and make it final, not have this different ways of measurement. They all should sit down and come up with a final decision how it should be, and that should take from the different entities that are required to have those boundaries so that they can all agree
Mhm.
to just make one final decision and just stick with it.
So as a commissioner, should you be confirmed, is that something that you would support and push?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. And I'm sorry, one last one. As a constituent yourself, and voting in the last how many elections prior, do you notice or experience any challenges that you as a constituent yourself feel that needs to be changed or improved or enhanced? Not as a commissioner, but as a
Yes,
constituent.
I understand. No, I don't think so. I didn't have any challenges or any negative ideas of how things were going. I was pretty satisfied with how it went.
Okay, great. Thank you for your answer, Mr. Hato. I yield, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Magovnia. I now recognize Senator Donald Manglonia.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Ato, thank you for your service and congratulations on your renomination. I just want to clarify that your response to one of Senator Magofnia's questions about the police clearance, I don't think that's a requirement. Having submitted 3 pamphlets myself, I don't think I've ever gone through the police clearance process. So, so I just wanted to clarify that response. My questions, they're very limited and it's based on observation as well as experience. I'm not sure what the process you guys take after an election. Do you go through a debriefing process? And if so, do you identify the challenges and what those are?
Yes, we had discussions after the election. Of course, the last election was brutal because it took a long time. A lot of people didn't have enough sleep and restless and all that. But we discussed the challenges that we went through very briefly. At the time, everybody was just trying to get out of there and go rest and stuff like that. But very minimal discussion on what had happened. I guess that's it. Very minimal.
Sorry, you sat in 2020 up until today, right? So were you part of the 2020 election also, or did that come after?
I was there.
So you sat in for 2 elections.
Yes.
Has any regulations changed since you sat in? And if not, has any regulations been brought up by whether it be the executive director and her staff or other commissioners in regards to amending some of the regs?
I do not recall if there was.
And the reason I bring that up is because, even with our prior commissioners during the hearing, we've brought up some concerns that I hope are still being discussed or have been brought up. For one being the voting regs in terms of would it be possible for even on-island voters to register by mail or email or electronically? And the reason I bring that up is because, as you know, I'm not sure if it's the same in Tinian, but on Rota, you have to, track down a commissioner just to submit your application. Whereas on Saipan, you have an office to walk into, but then, so the challenge is for the Rota and Tinian voters to look for a commissioner who's available so they can submit their applications. And so, alternative measures should be looked at. And I hope that that's something that the commissioners, can look into. Even with off-island voters, in today's day and age, gone are the days where we print stuff and mail. That's the process right now. A person who wants to register to vote will have to download an application, fill it out, and mail it. Even just going to the post office could be a challenge for individuals. And so why haven't we looked at ways in which registered voters or voters who would like to register submit their applications electronically? Has that been discussed as commissioners?
I don't recall if that was discussed, but I know that I had a lot of discussions with our population, and in fact, just last week, I had a person that was in Guam that wanted to register to vote in this coming election. Is in the military, stationed in Guam. So I was thinking, wow, well, September 6th is just around the corner. So let's see if we can get this done quicker. But I believe the election law right now is by mail only, to receive by mail. So I'm open to technology. To be honest with you, I think there's other avenues have been done elsewhere, like back in the States and stuff like that. So,
I mean, similarly to absentee, now you can register online, right? So
correct.
have we maybe looked into the possibility of allowing prospective voters to register online and then attach a copy of their birth certificate or passport?
Right.
That's something that could ease the process, as well as get people to register for those who are having the difficulty in going somewhere to print an application and then dropping off the mail. Has there been any changes in regs to absentee voting since you sat in?
Not that I'm aware of.
I think the challenge that was brought up in prior hearings is that, a lot of the times we penalize absentee voters if their ballot is not received on election day, but something like the mail system, which is out of our control, kind of I guess voters that submit their registration prior to or get it postmarked before election day and it's not received on time, their votes are still counted towards the failed to vote list. And so I think that's something that and if I may recommend for the commission to look into, and if their vote is not counted because of that delay, and at least allow them to remain within the voting list and not count towards their failed to vote, because in fact they did actually vote prior to election day. And so a lot of the people that we've noticed in the past election 2022 was that a lot of them were stricken or taken off the list because they were considered failed to vote, but then they've had proof that they've submitted their ballots on election day or prior to election day. So I hope that's something that could be considered also by the commission to change regulations, or if it needs to be done through statute to propose these changes to the legislature, and that's something that the legislature can consider. Also, the one last thing I wanted to bring up is just representative from registered parties, otherwise known as the poll workers, who are allowed to be in the voting booth. I think maybe certain considerations could be made for independent candidates and a collective, maybe to see who they want to recommend to be poll workers within the to work in the voting booth. I know that it's only, at least from my experience, it's limited to people presented by either party, the Republican or the Democrats, but there's no representation for the general public or somebody who may not be aligned to a party and that they would like for the commission to consider as being poll workers to also assist in the monitoring of these processes. And so I hope that's something that could be considered. And if there are any challenges there, please let us know, and so that we can understand how we can go around that. That's all I have for now. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Atto, and I yield at this time, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Donald. I now recognize Senator Paul Minglonia.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, John, for accepting this nomination. No sa tatungan na bulat na trustean ni Sita no para ta member gini na board sa no da bulat dibita comprende sa no man sensitive ito gini gi para bandan votasyon pero Jesus Monsi. No taza no first maybe I should comment first on a bill that I introduced Senate Bill 2368. I know si Remy mentioned something about this bill, and I have to throw our legal counsel under the bus. So it was supposed to be a simple bill. The bill is simply to allow somebody from Saipan that's on Rhoda on election day and cannot fly back here to vote on Rhoda, or somebody from Saipan that's on Tinian on election day to vote on Tinian. Somebody from Rhoda or Tinian on Saipan on election day to vote on Saipan. No strategy or anything to try to get to favor one candidate or the other. It's as simple as that. Because the argument here is, if for 2 weeks you can allow anybody from Rhoda on Saipan to vote 2 weeks prior to the election day, why couldn't you allow them to vote on election day? It's the same thing, right? It's just 2 weeks before you can vote, but on election day you have to fly to Rhoda or fly to Tinian, or likewise, if you're from Saipan and you go up to the early voting place on Rhoda, they'll say, okay, just wait, we'll call Saipan and we'll allow you to vote. Early voting on Rhoda, but comes election day, you cannot. So it's very simple. So Antoinette, our legal counsel, please work with our other legal counsel and try to work that out. I don't care if it's passed this year or next year, but I think it's something that we can correct, because every election year, I don't know how many from Tinian, but we get 6, 7 to 10 people that call us up. Senator, they won't allow us to vote. They told us to fly to Rhoda. I said, that's the law. So I think we need to change that. It's not right that we're going to miss out on these 6 to 10 voters on Saipan, or 1 to 2 on Rhoda from Saipan, or 6 to 10 from Tinian. And it's a very simple bill. It has to be passed by a bill because it's in the law. So that's all the intention of that, plain and simple. No, I think we have to change that. It's something that was overlooked when they were correcting the law. And so again, the wording shouldn't be in any precinct. I agree. It's hard to allow me from Rhoda to vote here on election day in any precinct, but I should surely be able to go down to your main office and be allowed to vote there, or at the central headquarters on that day. So that's the main intent. And so there's no favoritism or supposed to favor one party or the other. It's just to take care of those people that are here on medical referral or for some other business, and they're required to go to Rota on election day. So that's all the intent of that, and I hope we can fix that up. Okay, the basic, maybe it should be language. Any senator or district voter should be allowed to vote on election day on another senator or district. No, that should be the language. Let me ask. And quickly on the ranked choice voting. So we all understand that. I know it's a new kind of voting pass in Alaska. in Hawaii, I guess in the special election in Hawaii or municipal election, and also in New York, and they're probably all over the U.S., but in a limited form. And so the reason for that, and the reason I offer that, I introduce that is because first of all, I think you did mention about the need to get rid of the runoff, right? Because it's costly and there's not enough time. It's so close to the general inauguration. Doesn't have provide enough time for transition, and also the absentee voting. You notice in the regular election, general election, there's what 2,000 some absentee, but in the runoff, maybe only 500 come in. So you can tell that there's a lot of voters that were eliminated because of the time constraint. So the ranked choice voting was a way to attempt to solve that, to save money, so that we don't have another election. But another way that maybe we should offer is the system in Guam. Guam has a primary election in August, right? And so maybe that's what we should do. We should have everyone running for governor in August, and then have the general election, have the runoff in the general election. So maybe that's what we should do. But this is just an option which which you should actually try to understand, and then make a recommendation to the legislature. I introduced that just to put awareness in the community, and if that's an option, I know that that's an option that I would like to see on Rhoda. Uh, uh, if we can be allowed, but I'm still discussing this with the legal counsel whether for municipal elections they would allow the option, because there seems to be some legal question as to, can the whole cinema be this way and then the municipality be in another way. And so I hope that that's possible, because I really want to see this done as an experiment on Rhoda, because there's nothing wrong with this type of voting, I think. The other concern that you should discuss, you're representing Tinian, is, you know, in the past, when we have an election on Rhoda, when it wasn't with the voting machine counting, we know our results, even on Tinian. You know, already by the polls close at 7, you already know by 9. Right? It's so fast because we count it by hand. It's so fast. And now with the machines, sometimes midnight, right? So, and then what happens if there is inclement weather? The plane cannot land, and so we have to wait for the machine to come to Rhoda. And so we need to kind of maybe allow by law to at least count by hand for Rhoda and Tina. And again, I don't know whether that's allowable in Saipan, count by machine, Rhoda count by hand, but we can count by hand, subject to maybe the machine counting the next day, so that we don't have to worry about sending a machine down. Just count it by hand and let that be the unofficial result, and then count on the machine the next day, so that we don't have to wait. And I'm sure we can get trusted people in there with the auditor, the attorney general in the room, so that we can count by hand. It's a lot faster. And we don't have to spend money for a charter flight to Rhoda and to bring all these people and then back again, and delays the process because the machine has to be brought back again to Saipan, right? Or something like that. So let's have an unofficial count by hand, and then official counting the next day, right? So something like that we need to talk to consider. I have a question here. When you register, and maybe if the chair don't mind, the directors here, and I want to get a question here. When you register, that registration form has a numbering on the form. Is it numbered so that you cannot take a paper away and send it to Guam or mail it somewhere? Are they accounted for each form?
I don't believe so.
Can Chair, if it's okay to bring in the executive director, I just wanted to know that the answer to that question.
I think the nominee already answered. The registration forms are not numbered.
They're not numbered, or
No.
or you don't know.
They're not numbered.
So in other words, I can send 5 forms to Guam and give somebody that's not even a board of election member, and go ahead and register somebody as if they registered here. You can do that technically, right? Because you have an original form also, right? I mean, I understand there's a form. No, I'm sorry. Let me take this back. There's a form that anybody can download. There's also another form that a commissioner has, right? And it's a different form, right?
Basically the same. It's just one came from the internet and one came from a person.
And it's all exactly the same.
I believe so, yes.
Because my understanding is if it's the commissioner or your staff, they also fill in who registered you. Is that the way it's done? I mean, like if you were to come to your office, right? The board, the person registering, there's a form that they fill out, and then you have to acknowledge that you registered that. No,
No. I'm the one that transfers it to Saipan.
you
I
transfer.
take it from
So the same
registrant.
form you bring it to Saipan. Okay.
Yes.
And so I asked this because there's 2 voters on Rhoda that told me they registered for the last election in 2022, but when they went to vote, they were told their registration is not there. They're not registered. And so this year, they want to register, and then they asked me to check their name, and I said, your name is here. Why do you need to re-register? So that leads me to believe that, sometimes the accountability of the registration form, they're left on the side, and they're not actually inputted, and there's no accounting of the how many are registered, and then they will do it after the election. Is that possible?
I would say that's possible, but
Because she told me that she argued in Rhoda because she wanted to vote, and they told her name is not there.
Right.
And so she's asking me, should she wants to register, and can I verify if her name is there? And I said, it's there, unless it's a different roster, but it's the latest one. And so so I'm thinking, if she registered before the election, why isn't her name there? Anyway, that's something that we need to have an accountability on. Like if you register people in Tinian and you bring it here, we need to make sure that they're updated down there at the office.
it should be because the election commission should send a card to that person that registered,
Right,
so they have
right.
the registration card.
And if they have an issue, they should inform the person, right, that
Yes.
you don't qualify or what. But the person was told on election day that she's not registered, and she's absolutely sure that these 2 people that they were registered. Okay, another question is, can you as a commissioner go to the election office here on Saipan and say, here are 5 names, I want you to investigate these 5 names because they're not qualified?
I have never done that. I don't know if anyone has done that, but
You cannot just go call one of their staff and say, hey, can you research this name and investigate these people? In other words, challenge their listing as a commissioner.
I mean, if there's a reason to challenge it, maybe yes, but I've
Is
not
that a
been-
practice? Can you?
I have not seen that happen in the 4 years that
What is the procedure for that? And I ask this because this is one of the reasons why I like the idea of actually having both Democrat Party and the Republican nominee, so we have equal balance in there, so they could check each other, right?
Mhm.
Right now, it's not that way, and all I'm after is a fair process. I don't want a commissioner to actually, earlier we discussed about the reason for off-island voting, right? In the last election, that was my argument, because they pick all my supporters, our supporters, and if you're gonna apply the law to this group of people, you should apply to everyone across. And I don't, then it's fair. And I just want to make sure that whatever policy you apply, you apply the same across, right? You cannot just say, let's start checking, and then, oh yeah, we have 100 names, but we only check 50, so we stop because we don't have time, and the election is just around the corner. Then I say it's better to just don't do it at all, or if you're gonna do it for everyone, right? That's what I'm after, and that's the question that I have, is that so we don't target unfairly people, right? Because it gets you mad. A voter in Oregon, for example, she's from Rhoda, but she got frustrated already because they feel like they're targeting her, and she sees on the list 100 people worse than her situation, and they're still there, but they took her out. So if that was your case, right, you would get mad and you would hate our islands already. And so it's sad, right? But that's the case. If you're gonna apply to everyone. If you cannot apply it in time for the general election, then don't apply it at all. Because once you apply, you gotta do it all completely, right? So that no one gets hurt unfairly and unjustly. That's all my point there. And so yeah, like you mentioned, if they've been voting for 10 years, okay, if that's your policy, so make sure you check everyone for 10 years. Don't just pick certain people that your commissioner from Tinia and other commissioner from Rota or from here gives you a name. Once you started, then check everyone. That's all. I hope that the process can be fair, and so I want to commend the board. I know that Senator Dono was asking about online, but I understand this year you can apply online, right? For absentee. That's being done now. So I commend the board for doing that. And so the next step maybe is registration online. But I'm happy that they're flexible. The director was flexible because there are some people that don't have access to computer. They're computer illiterate, and so I guess originally you weren't gonna allow the downloading and mailing, but I think they allow that, which is good because we're just transitioning. So somebody from the States can print it out and still mail it on time as long as it's post dated, right? On the 6th, and I assume that the same thing with the registration. And so I guess you'd continue to accept by email. I hope that you will continue to accept by email the registration form, a copy with their passport, and then subject to the receipt of the original application and all that, postmarked by the 6th. So that's a good process that you have now available to off-island voters. But I'm wondering whether if they apply online, would they automatically be listed on the law requirement that they have submitted their application already, right? I'm assuming that that's tied in together. But I have others, but that's for now. Nomolikas, the chairman, Sidus Masi. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Paul. I now recognize Senator Jude Hofschneider.
Jesus Masi, Madam Chair, and good morning to everyone, both that are here with us and both that are watching online, and most especially para si Mr. John Ato. Welcome back to the Senate. And but before I post my remarks, Madam Chair, is it okay that we allow Director Kayla to perhaps sit next to Mr. Ato, just in case there are some elements that may require guidance from her, if it's okay?
Ms. Igito, would you be willing to come in and join us?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members for not objecting to it. And because a lot of the line of questioning is the operative side of the function of CEC, and I do know that the board is heavily involved along every step of the way, but not necessarily the day-to-day, no. And I think Director Kayla Igito here is very much knowledgeable, as well as her able staff over the last several elections and stuff, and I want to thank them for that. But just moving on, again, John, buenos dias, saludo, thank you nun na-accepta i-nomination sa tunga na tempulukis ti progo ni Ponzuti, no? Away from his omo day to day, sa tinian law, no. Thank you for being straightforward that you have no inclination of any political, affiliation whatsoever, and that I think that's something that you hold. That's a credit to you for mentioning that openly to us and to the listening public. But to jump on to the question of with regards to the runoff and the requests, especially for those that are not living here in the CNMI and are registered here and continuously exercise their right to vote in the CNMI. There are some concerns raised to us, and particularly, and maybe this is something that if it can be done by regulation, by authority provided in the law, or if it needs to be addressed as what Senator Paul was saying earlier, what simple legislation, simple fix that makes sense, to make it seamless for our voting populace to exercise their right to vote. Can you guys elaborate, or maybe John, if you can just talk to us about what do you feel about limiting when you receive, especially for the runoff, no, because you only get 2 weeks. You don't count the general election absentee ballot post the date of election, the general election, because of the runoff. Why is this an issue? Can we address that? Because it's kind of you put a very it's enough that we're asking them to take time off wherever they're at. Limited no dalune because of policy here, and if it's not constitutionally prohibited, how can you tamano ni pataregla no na sunto pa even for not this for this election, but even for the next, because as a result of that, they could have probably, and I stand corrected, be disqualified as non-voted because they didn't cast their vote because of the deadline post. So maybe start with John. What do you? I mean, have you guys discussed this issue?
Uh, the law is set, and basically we just follow what it says. The election law is all we do over there. Then we don't control the post office, on their timelines or when the mail gets here and stuff like that. Again, there's a set time. I know that it is a time that's too close to inauguration and stuff like that, but that's the reason why I kind of like put out the thing that maybe the runoff should be set aside and not be used in the CNMI, and just go with whoever has the most number, because unless we change the law to push the dates back, then maybe something to look into. But
I see where you're saying, John. But thank you for that. Unfortunately, no, it's a constitutional prohibition. Is law. It's really just up to us. But a lot of the guidance has to be borne by the executing agencies. In this case, the election board, election commission rather. But as far as the and maybe Director Kayla, you can chime in on this. Does it have to be 2 weeks after the general election?
To receive absentee for the runoff?
No, to have the election, the runoff.
That's how the law is written. So
Is that the constitutional provision, or is it the statutory? It's like the legislature. Do you remember? I'm not.
I mean, I can't recall
I don't have
right now, but I could look into it for you.
Yes. But also, I want to ask, there's a lot that have actually sent it out prior to the runoff, but they didn't make the ballot until post runoff. Is that something that you feel that we're denying the privilege of a voting member of this community?
In my opinion, yes. I mean, just because the election absentees on our election law, we have to receive absentee for the general election on election day. So anything that comes after that is not counted.
So can you comfortably advise us if this is something that we should consider heavily
Well, if you're
legislative?
gonna do away with the runoff, then maybe give those absentee voters 14 days after the election to be able to get their ballots in and be counted. But
Okay.
if we have the runoff at the same, I mean, we're still gonna run the general election and then have a runoff, then it's only feasible to have the absentee ballots received on the general election.
Okay, so I don't lose our train of thought here, but so the runoff, you accept ballots 14 days after, no?
Correct.
Yeah,
Not
but
general.
not general.
But if we do away with the runoff, like Commissioner Attal is proposing, then you'll give ample time to absentee voters to get their absentee ballots for the general election in on time if you give them that 14 days period, which originally, before we had the runoff,
But
that was what.
sorry, Director, but Spesa, so interject ko, but nothing that stops the legislature from inducing a 5-day post general election absentee,
Nothing.
no? Nothing that
Nothing.
stops.
Nothing, sir.
Okay, it's just
That I
that's
know
more
of.
work for you guys, but
Yes.
but I'm just trying to get a grip so
Yes.
that we can all understand what we're trying to ask.
Mhm.
I mean, so okay, so
But then again, you're gonna create another obstacle, because then if you're gonna give them five days, we cannot certify the results, yet we cannot have a runoff.
okay, so I guess it's the runoff because a lot of this is the definition of plurality versus majority, no? So okay, so speaking of the earlier, Mr. Atto, you mentioned about removing the runoff. Just recently, our brothers and sisters in Guam, they had a primary. And to my surprise, I didn't realize it's everyone, including the legislature. I was thinking more on the executive level only, like the respective mayors of Guahan and the gubernatorial, no? So I know that some of us up here are broaching the idea of revisiting that, but again, a lot of this is really needs to come from the guidance and historic, information, no, from the commission. What do you think about that? Of having an open election in July? Para myself, myself na patira ko. So right now there's 3 registered registered laws. I mean, political party now, right? Only 2 now, so they changed that. It used to be Covenant, Democrat, Republican.
There's no covenant. It's Republican and Democrat. Those are the 2 registered
Can you?
political parties. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, having said that, can we? Is your legal counsel here by any chance? I mean, do you have any? Because I know that you guys, when you conduct your meeting, you rely heavily on legal guidance, no?
He's not here right now.
So you utilize AAG.
Yes.
Okay. But have you ever utilized an outside counsel?
No.
Like for example, and I'm jumping here. Okay, so dispense that. For challenge voter,
Yes, of course.
you use outside counsel or AAG?
Yes. We use outside counsel.
Okay, so you do use outside counsel
Yes.
for like a
To
mediator.
conduct
Oh.
the administrative hearings for the
Yes.
challenges. Yes.
Okay, how much really costing the government? Top of your head,
Rounding 15.
15,000.
Yeah.
15,000,
Yes.
and that's just the minimum, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think and the reason why I'm asking this because for for those that are, for even myself, I'm still trying to understand a lot of these things. The process and the timeline, especially not the process but the timeline, for that matter. And so, how can we address this? What's your view in terms of this absentee qualifications? I'm going to ask si John. He mentioned something about 10 years. What do you mean 10 years? 10 years of
10 years for people that have left the CNMI, that are settled wherever they're settled at. If you've lived there 10 or more years, your requirement or whatever reasoning to keep voting in the CNMI, you left the CNMI for
economic reason?
economic reasons, except for the 4 categories. I think they
Okay, I mean that's fine.
I think they should be not say eliminated, but canceled out.
Okay, even if I have I'm gonna use first person here. Even if I'm a retiree, I mean I'm paying taxes here. I'm getting money from the retirement fund here, and I've been away for 10 years for maybe health reasons. Are you gonna drop me just because, or do you? What's the mechanism right now? If you miss 2 elections or 2 general elections, you got to come back here and what to reaffirm your
Re-register.
re-register. How many days is that?
120 days before a general election.
No, but how long can you to reestablish your residency?
It's just you have to be here 120 days before a general election to
So there's
register to
about
vote.
6 months.
Yeah,
Through.
correct.
So
It's a follow up on that. Or even if you're a military official, like you're in the military and you vote twice, your ballot didn't come, so you're out. You cannot expect the military guy to come back 120 days, right?
That's what I'm saying.
If you don't lose, well, if you fail to vote, it doesn't automatically say you lost your residency.
What's the operative? Because there seems to be confusion, as what just the senator just alluded to. What is the protocol right now? Use me as an example.
Okay,
I didn't vote to 2018. I didn't vote 2020.
then you re-register.
So what do I need to do? Do I need to come back here?
No, you can visit the website, download the registration form, fill
But-
it in, and send
but,
it in.
But you just said you need to be here 120
If
days.
you see our registration, it says you need to be here 120 days before a general election.
Who are those people?
You are over 18, a U.S. citizen.
No,
Those
but-
are the requirements.
Okay, I understand. But
Okay.
but if I miss 2 elections,
Mm-hmm.
somehow I understand that you get dropped, right? After
Yes.
2 elections.
By election law, yes.
Okay, so what do I need to do to re-up again?
Re-register.
How do I do that?
You visit our website or visit our office.
No, but how do I do that to qualify? I just go on the website, even though I'm in.
That's
So
what
I
it
need
says
to
on
be
it.
physically here. Think about it.
Yeah.
Do we need to be physically here to re-register upon being dropped on the eligibility
No, you
list?
don't.
Because are you sure?
Yes.
So I don't need to. Again, I want to make sure that we understand. So I am a voter here, and I missed the 2 elections.
Mm-hmm.
And then the law says that I'm no longer qualified to vote because I missed 2 elections.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, my name is not on the list for 2022 or 2024, for that matter. I'm not here because of economic reason. I'm not here because I'm serving in the military. I'm not here because of economic reasons or malongo or for whatever other reasons. Can I vote online? I mean, can I register online, or do I need to be physically here?
You can register online because you did not lose your residency by failing to vote. Unless you register in another jurisdiction, then you lose your
That's
residency.
what I'm trying to hear. And,
Yes.
and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because there's a lot of misconception and confusion that you
Okay.
cannot, because you're already, you missed it twice.
Yeah, sorry.
No.
Yeah, I had to,
Just make sure it's clear in your FAQs, because there's still
Yes.
questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You know, just and it's no better person to clarify that under you guys,
Yes,
no?
sir. Yes, sir.
The si Jesus masin yung naklaro no sa koski mga no ga mas no question ne. Logi, I want to circle back to Mr. Ato's 10-year. I mean, you know, we're always trying to fix the election law to make it to improve it, no. But we also want to be mindful that you know some people, even though they move away, they still want to be here because somehow somewhere they're gonna come down or. But it's a tough scenario to cut off. It's gonna have to be guided by a very strong advocacy narrative, what have you, and all that. But if you're just gonna say that no, tisinya sa no, you know, it's gonna be a tough sell. But so I've never voted here, and I grew up in Texas for that matter. But my parents are voting here the whole time. Can I vote? Can I register? Can the 120 days still apply?
No.
So if you never set foot here, but yet I'm from Tinian,
You never set foot.
here,
Uh-huh.
but my parents are voting here.
Well, you don't inherit your parents' residency.
Okay, so you cannot.
No, you cannot.
They need to be here 6 months.
Yes.
Okay.
Because they turn 18 abroad.
Okay. All right. So that's clear, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Director. And
Follow up on that. Basically, you're 16 years old. You turn 17. You turn 18, and your parents are one of them is in the military. But you've been here, you know, when they come on vacation, when they're off their duties, you come back, and then you turn 18, and your dad is still in the military. You mean that person is not qualified to register?
No, because the person is already 18, is a legal adult. So you don't inherit where your parents were last residing.
No,
or
but
residency.
just prior to you turning, you're still staying at the house because you're going to be going college. You're, in fact, right after you turn 18, you enroll in the college, and your parents are in the military. So you're still a student. And why do you need? How can that person come back and establish 3 months, and you know that will go for that person to rent a house or whatever? But they were students. Under the parents, then they attend college. I don't know. I just wondering how can that be fair?
Senator Jude Hofschneider, you still have the floor.
thank you. Thank you, Par, for those. Anyway, so moving on. Okay. A non-partisan candidate who are public agency employed. Should they be taking leave when it's not a full-time office that they're trying to?
I think we
to,
should just
question?
leave that question to OPM because they are the HR resource of the government. Our law, our election law states when a candidate is certified, they should take leave, but the enforcing agency or any question regarding leave should go to OPM.
Okay. Have you, in your mind or in your recollection, has there been a consenting or dissenting opinion from an entity in the
I
government?
could actually send you the legal opinion from the AG regarding that.
Because I have reasons to believe that it's in the past they were omitted from such, but then they're being asked to do one now. So
I mean, we did.
this is for a non-partisan.
Yes,
not
I know.
Like,
but we did look into it, and we did get legal opinion from the AG's office, which I could share with you
can you just share to maybe the committee?
when I get back to my office.
I don't necessarily particularly have any other pointed questions, Mr. Ato. I just wanted to if confirm and encourage open-mindedness and making sure that the dissemination of information, as you said. And when you were saying that communication, Director Kayla here is very good in communicating. So maybe ask her a lot of questions with regards to the way the SOP is and all that, and everybody else. And I want to thank again for thank you for accepting this, and hopefully it checks out with the other members of the Senate. The other thing is I would be remiss if I don't express appreciation to Kayla, Director Kayla Igito, and your staff for doing your best, especially during the hot season. And but I will continue to ask and recommend that even in a cool season, review the regulations and the laws, and work with the members of the legislature. Doesn't matter who, whether the Senate or the House, to see how we can tighten some of that, because it takes a few times to, or a few weeks to review, and to be able to sell. And it's just we don't want to perceive like it's only during elections that we try to it's I encourage more dialogues with members of the legislature. Jesus Masi John, Madam Chair, you back.
Thank you, Senator Hausschneider. I recognize Senator Karina Magofnia.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I just have a follow-up question and some new questions. So the follow-up question is in regards to Senator Paul's question regarding an investigation. What is the current process should somebody call or request for an investigation?
Can I answer?
Sure.
Right now, if there's something that comes into our office in black and white from a registered voter challenging another voter, then that's when it begins the investigation clock, where our office needs to look into it, gather information, and then submit it to the board. And then the board will decide if they're going to have an administrative hearing for the voter, call in the voter, give the voter that opportunity to answer that challenge and to show proof otherwise regarding the challenge.
So before all that process takes place, is there a form, an official form that the complainant should like fill out so that the office itself or the board doesn't waste time really going through all
Yeah, we
that
do have a form.
Okay, so
There is a form,
like a complaint form.
a challenge form. Yes.
Okay. Has there been time where, or is verbal sufficient? Can somebody just, let's say, call the commissioner and say, hey, can you look into these individuals because such and such and such?
I think no, it's preferred that it's in black and white.
It's preferred, or is it required?
It's required.
It's required. Okay. So anything that comes into the office to investigate has to be in writing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so that takes care of that follow-up question. Now, Mr. Attal, I'm looking at the citizen-centric report for FY23 and for the election office. And one of them says that the Commonwealth Election Commission board members are, I guess, to meet and address issues with election laws and election regulations that need to be amended to ensure a smooth process. Is that something that the board or the commission has done since you've been there? I mean, and this is a FY23 citizen-centric report. So obviously, it's being captured on here that the board or the commissioners are going to need to update some regulations, which was kind of asked earlier. And would you be aware of what those regulations are?
To be honest with you, no. I am not aware if we did go through something like that. I know that we deal with the legislature to make any changes recommendations from the commission.
So are you aware of any proposed legislations or amendments to any existing laws for the legislature to act on or introduce?
Yes, there is, but I don't recall exactly what the subject is.
Okay.
I would have to go back and read my emails.
So is it a legislation, or is it a regulation?
I believe it's a legislation.
Okay. Are there any regulations at the election office that are being proposed to be amended or has been amended?
Not aware.
Okay. I'm just asking because it's stated on the citizen-centric report that those are some of the action items that the office will be taking. Another one is to conduct comprehensive training for all poll workers. Has that been done, Mr. Ato?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. I'm assuming it's going to happen soon, right? Okay. And then it also says that it's going to revisit and amend poll worker training procedures. Are the amendments done? I mean, the election is literally a month and a half away.
We're in the process. We're working on those at this moment.
Would those be adopted in time before the election?
We certainly hope so.
Okay. And it also talks about adopting operating procedures on ballot handling and ballot accountability. Is that done?
It's in the work.
It's in the works. Okay. Now I'm going to mention some challenges that were listed here on the report. One of them being validating the voter registry. So going back to kind of what I was saying earlier, right, with regards to constituents residing in one precinct and voting in another. I guess Kayla, can you expand on this? What it means when it says validate the voter registry?
It's making sure our voter registry is up to date in regards to voter information. And
So like obviously like some form of government ID, a passport or a driver's license, and
a birth
then
certificate.
a birth certificate. What about like address or mailing address, or is that part of the validation process?
Well, it's on the registration form, so it's asked of the voter for those informations.
Okay. And then another challenge is the flight delay for Rhoda and Tinian ballots. How is the commission, what actions are being taken to address this challenge? I mean, what are some of the discussions that the board or the commission have had to address such a challenge?
I think the background on that is it's the pertaining to the contract with the airline that's bringing the ballots from those islands. They are set. They are told to bring it at a certain time, so they're fulfilling that.
So for unforeseen circumstances such as bad weather and stuff, what's plan B and plan C? Is that something that you guys have discussed to have an alternative process should the original plan doesn't pan out? I mean, there's always contingencies, right?
Can
So
I-
you have to be ready for.
Can I answer that?
Sure.
Are you talking about transport of ballots on election day
I mean,
to the 3rd Senatorial District, or?
I'm just reading what the report says. It says one of the challenges is the flight delay for Rhoda and Tinian ballots.
Okay. Well, Senator McGough, can I ask your question again, please?
So has there been any discussion, or what plans does the commission have in place to address this challenge that was that's being stated on the report? Obviously, it's stated on the report because these are some of the issues that are identified, right? And when you identify issues, you need to come up with solutions. So I guess my question is, what are some of those solutions that the commission has proposed to address the challenge?
I think there is a conversation going on regarding the challenges of the transports of of ballots from the senatorial districts, but the
I mean, but I'm asking the commissioner, right? Since
Okay.
he's present in those meetings, like what are some of the discussions that you guys have, and what are the plans to address this issue that is being brought forward on the report?
Can I ask who made the report, the complaint?
I'm assuming the
Because
election office.
what I was aware of the evening of the election, there was a complaint why we couldn't get the ballots to Saipan earlier.
Mhm.
And it was discussed that it pertained to the contract with the airline company, that they are told that they have to come back at this time, and they did.
Okay.
So even our staff, they couldn't pull any
Sure.
lever on that one, because the airline was the one that said their contract states this, so this is what we're going to follow.
Okay. So Kayla, let me ask you this. So who prepares this report?
myself and the staff.
Yourself. So is that something that the commissioners are aware of, what the contents are that are in this report?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess that's why I'm asking, right, as a commissioner, if these challenges are being raised on this report, I would like to know what the commission as a board is discussing and plans to resolve the issue or the challenge.
Well, I will take this information and bring it up in our next meeting
Okay.
so that I can understand exactly what,
Okay.
because the information I'm giving you is the
Sure.
information that happened that
Okay.
evening, is what I'm saying.
Okay, Mr. Ato. So if I may recommend, please take a look at the citizen-centric report for FY23. Familiarize yourself with the challenges that are being raised on the report and bring it to the meeting when you guys have your next meeting, so that you can start discussing it and start figuring out how to resolve these issues. And in the future, if the office is gonna address some challenges or identify challenges on the report, I would highly recommend that the commissioners are involved and are aware of what these challenges are, so that should you be called in for an oversight or just updates, that you are aware of these challenges and what the commission is doing about it. Okay, thank you. That's all I have. I yield, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Magofnia. I think in defense of the Election Commission, when it comes to inclement weather, that's something we or they can't control. And this is the problem we have with only one carrier inter-island. And the other thing is during inclement weather, planes are grounded by external forces such as the FAA or whatever regulations. So I understand the challenges that the Election Commission has, and if ballots have to be counted late, then so be it. But it will eventually get here. But my concern is the security of the ballots in those respective municipalities. If a typhoon should befall on election day, and poll workers, of course, safety is always the priority of election officials, including tabulators and poll workers, and they must go seek shelter. My concern would be the security more so than how to get the ballot over. So I hope that's something that you guys have a plan in place for with respect to the other municipalities, including the Northern Islands, and that's even a bigger challenge and more costly. That's all I have. Senator Paul, did you have?
Just wanted to ask, since the director's here, so today until September 6th, how does one register on Rhoda if they want to register, other than printing out the form? Is there an official there that they can?
As a matter of fact, yes, we have our Commissioner Yatar is stationed at the Rhoda Mayor's office today and all the way to September 6th.
Also, so if one goes to the mayor's office, she will be there?
Yes, she is there.
Because I asked because there was something going around that they can only register on the 5th, 9 to 11 at the mayor's office. Is that true?
No, not that I'm
So
aware
do you
of,
have
but
a memo out that I can share on Facebook and inform the people that you can go register there?
yeah, I'll have my staff email it to you.
Please,
But,
because right now they
we
think
weren't-
it's only on the 5th, 9 to 11, and I'm
No,
saying
we were just notified. I was just notified this morning that Commissioner Yatar is actually at the Rhoda Mayor's office right now.
from 9 to 11 every day.
Station not 9 to 11 like in the afternoon.
No, in the morning.
Oh yeah, she's there in the morning, but I'm not sure until what time. But I could find out for you, and then
Can you
maybe we
please
can
verify? I
send you an
appreciate,
email.
because the understanding is only on Thursday, 5th.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Senator Paul. Mr. Atto and Ms. Igito, thank you for assisting us. Mr. Atto, we have no further questions. You are hereby dismissed.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience and cooperation. We will now go into recess. It is 12:50 p.m., and we will reconvene at 2 p.m. this afternoon to hear the next nominee, Mr. Richard Dela Cruz Farrell, nominated to serve as commissioner on the Civil Service Commission representing the 2nd Senatorial District. We are now in recess.